The word dictatorship often conjures up images of North Korea's Kim Jong-un, Germany's Adolf Hitler, and Russia's Joseph Stalin. In the African context, figures like Idi Amin, Sani Abacha, and Robert Mugabe come to mind. Notably absent from this list is Isaias Afwerki, the singular leader who has steered Eritrea through its entire 30 years of independence. Afwerki doesn't find himself among the who is who of dictators because he has adeptly sidestepped widespread attention, deftly concealing both himself and his nation to avoid international scrutiny. Since Eritrea gained independence from Ethiopia in May 1993, Afwerki has maintained an iron grip on power, ushering in an era marked by a notable lack of political pluralism, stringent control over information, and the establishment of a formidable security apparatus. Some have made the comparison that Eritrea is Africa's North Korea without the nukes. Afwerki has succeeded in doing what so many dictators throughout history have attempted to do but failed: avoiding attention from outsiders. Apart from times when Eritrea was involved in wars with Ethiopia, Eritrea is hardly mentioned in the news for any reason at all. This is every dictator's dream. So, how did Eritrea become such a country? How did Afwerki come to power? How does he succeed in keeping his country on such a tight list that no one knows what is going on in there? What is really going on in Eritrea? And what can we learn from this? You cannot understand Eritrea unless you understand Isaias Afwerki, the man who has led this country since its creation as a modern state. When Isaias was born in 1946 in Asmara, the city was under the United Nations mandated control of the United Kingdom. Eritrea was federated to Ethiopia in 1952 and was forcibly annexed 10 years later. The annexation spurred the formation of the Eritrean Liberation Front, EPLF, in the Eritrean Western Lowlands. Isaias studied engineering in Ethiopia at the University of Addis Ababa, but left the university in 1966 to join the EPLF. During Ethiopia's revolution in 1974, Isaias led the highland-dominated Eritrean People's Liberation Front, the EPLF. In 1987, he was elected as Secretary General of the EPLF. After years of military struggle, the EPLF defeated the Ethiopian troops in May 1991. A provisional government was put in place with Isaias as the head, and a referendum on Eritrean independence from Ethiopia was planned for the future. As was the case with most of the regimes born out of rebellion against oppressive rule in Africa, Isaias Afwerki soon turned out to be what he was fighting against. Immediately after Eritrea gained independence in 1993, Isaias Afwerki assumed the role of the country's first president. In the early days of his reign, Afwerki promised a democratic and prosperous future for Eritrea. However, as times progressed, it became evident that these promises were not made to be fulfilled. In fact, this was just the words of a politician. The once hopeful atmosphere that existed after the country's independence gave way to a repressive regime that curtailed the freedoms and stifled any opposition. The initial optimism that greeted the nation's independence was dead within a few years. More and more, Eritrea became isolated from the rest of the world. The tragedy was just getting started. In the years that followed, Isaias gradually consolidated his power over virtually every aspect of Eritrean life, serving additionally as Commander-in-Chief of the army and as chairman of the country's sole political party, the People's Front for Democracy and Justice, as the EPLF renamed itself in 1994. Think about the irony: Front for Democracy and Justice. He cancelled the 1997 presidential election, and in 2001, he virtually closed the national press. That same year, he had several prominent opposition leaders arrested and charged with treason. Critics of his regime accused him of using a long-standing border dispute with Ethiopia to avoid implementing Eritrea's constitution, which had been ratified in 1997, and for other repressive measures in the country. Another border dispute, this time around with Djibouti, broke out in 2008. Afwerki used all of this to consolidate power and silence dissent. This may be hard to understand, but it is true. In Eritrea, taking pictures of government facilities is a punishable offense. Yes, just for snapping of government facilities. The pervasive government control extends to various aspects of daily life, creating an oppressive atmosphere that casts a shadow over the dreams and aspirations of the people. If you're born in Eritrea, military service is compulsory. Citizens live under a mandatory and indefinite national service program, which has been described by many as a form of conscription, lasting far beyond the mandated initial 18 months. The United Nations Human Rights Watch reports that many Eritreans have spent their entire working lives at the service of the government in either a military or civilian capacity. In 2003, the Eritrean state passed a law that mandates the Eritrean citizens, usually within the teenage bracket, to undergo a military training before they complete secondary school, with many being conscripted directly from their school to national service. This system of conscription has led to a significant exodus of Eritreans seeking refuge abroad, as the prospect for a better life within the country are severely constrained by the oppressive political climate and lack of economic opportunities. An estimated 507,300 Eritreans live in exile, out of an estimated total population of 5 million. That is to say, 1 in 10 Eritreans live in exile. For those who could not escape Eritrea, just living is a struggle. Some available data give us a good glimpse of life in Eritrea. The poverty rate is over 40%. 4 in 10 people live in absolute poverty. GDP growth is at an abysmal 2%. GDP per capita is $596 for the last year it was available. Internet penetration in Eritrea is 21%. Guess how many social media users are available in Eritrea? Just 10,000 social media users. At the start of 2023, 2.91 million Eritreans do not use the internet. That is to say, 78% of the population is still offline. With a population of 3.7 million people, Eritrea has better chances of developing than large countries like Nigeria or Egypt, but has been unable to do so. Clearly, the leadership of Isaias Afwerki, who won independence for Eritrea with the hope of taking them to the promised land, has failed to deliver on that hope. But if Eritreans are not pleased with Afwerki, they should change him, right? Well, it is not that easy. Without any freedom of the press, there is no criticism of these policies within Eritrea itself. And the last time there was any national elections in Eritrea was in 1993. 31 years ago, a generation ago. With the median age of 18.5, more than 70% of Eritreans are under the age of 34. In other words, majority of Eritreans have never had the chance to choose their leaders. Independence came to Eritrea with so much hope. The optimism was palpable. The dreams of Eritreans were large. One man dashed all those hopes. Eritrea has become a nation that no one talks about. You simply can't get information about Eritrea easily. It is indeed Africa's North Korea without the nukes. There are some lessons other countries can learn from Eritrea. Number 1, institutions matter. Eritrea is built around a single individual. Afwerki is everything. In fact, Afwerki is Eritrea and Eritrea is Afwerki. Without institutions to checkmate individuals, it is inevitable that abuse will happen. Number 2, political freedoms matter. It was Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah that said, "Seek ye first the political kingdom and all other earthly kingdoms will be added to you." The ability to vote is important because it influences all other things. Through the ballot, citizens can make their opinions known. Elections are not just events in which we choose our products to hold political office. They are expressions of our will and direction for our society. Eritreans do not have this power. Thirdly, one good leader can make a big difference. Just as one bad leader can ruin a country, one good leader can set a country on a good path. Eritrea has nearly the same population as Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew set Singapore on a different path when it gained independence. Isaias set Eritrea on a different path. Today, the average Singapore citizens live on more than $60,000 per year. Yet, the average Eritrean live on just less than $600. Leaders made the difference. So wherever you're watching this from, advocate for these three things, stand for them, and ensure your country does not go to the Eritrean path. Till I see you again, thank you for watching this episode. Kindly subscribe and share to your friends. Thank you. Goodbye.